Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. My listeners. You know that Wyatt strives to present a showcase and a platform for gay SGL, same gender loving authors, particularly those who are Black and ethnic. And being a gay SGL author myself, I know all too well that sometimes it can be rather challenging for us to effectively get the word out about our projects. Having said all that, I'm proud and excited to have an award-winning author as today's special guest on Wyatt. He's Mr. Joe Okonkwo. Now, wait. His last name is a bit of a tongue twister for me, so I might have mispronounced it. We'll find out later. Anywho, Mr. O's brand new work has just dropped, and it's an absolutely sublime collection of short stories titled, and get this, Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck. What a stirring title. So Mr. O will be pulling up to the mic post haste. Anyhow, after the show, visit my online home, WyattEvans.com. That's WyattEvans.com. The go-to destination for LGBTQ news, features, commentary, and entertainment. And WyattEvans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. Yeah, baby. And at WyattEvans.com, you will find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, y'all, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And the current installment is titled Frenzy! Yes, Frenzy. And Frenzy is chock full of masculine romance, intrigue, danger, y'all, and the blazing heat of a zillion suns of erotic passion and steamy nastiness. And y'all, good golly, Miss Molly, I'm having the time of my life penning the sequel to Frenzy. I said the sequel to Frenzy. You will get totally swept away by the continuing exploits of Wes Antonio. Oh yeah, more details to come. And gosh darn, look who's back with us. It's my sometimes part-time sidekick, Madam Pussy Galore, Cock-a-Doodle-Doo, Drag Queen Supreme. What's shaking, Bacon? Oh, yes. Hello, everyone. Everyone in listening land. Madam Pussy Galore, Cock-a-Doodle-Doo is indeed back. And Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, I'm not here for you. Instead, I'm here for all of my lovable and loyal listeners who are just so besides themselves when I'm away. They miss me. Madam, get a grip. You are delusional. And with a capital D, no less, a capital D for delusional. Oh, Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, you just be quiet. Just clutch the pearls and stop the train. How can you say all of those horrible, evil, nasty things about little old me? Well, it's easy, 'cause I just said it. You're simply nutso. You're like cray-cray. Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, let me tell you something. Just let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. Who do you think you are anyway? I mean, nobody cares about you. This radio show would be nothing, and I do mean nothing without me. You're just such a pain in the... Let me tell you something! Madam, I've had more than enough of you. I've had my fill of you. Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, why do you continue to be so mean to me? I mean, why are you're just so unhinged? Because, madam, pussy galore, cock-a-doodle-doo, drag queen supreme, you just, you make me that way. You be working my last damn nerve. That's why. Oh, Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, you silly man. I'd love to work on something else that's on you. Do you know what I'm talking about? As Arnold says, get out. Get the hell out. Well, I never. Goodbye. I'm out of here. Good. She gone. Everybody, she gone. All right, now it's time for our special guest, Mr. Joe Okonkwo. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. When I bring him up to the mic, he can correct me. Anyway, his new collection of short stories, Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck, has just dropped, and y'all, I'm loving it. My listeners, allow me to give you the 411 on this rather remarkable talent. His debut novel, Jazz Moon, won the Publishing Triangle's prestigious Edmund White Award for debut fiction and was a finalist for a Lambda Literary Award. Now, let me tell you something! His short stories have appeared in storied publications, including the Piltdown Review, The New Engagement, Story Chord, Promethean, Love Stories from Africa, and Best Gay Stories 2015. As well, he edited Best Gay Stories 2017, and his short story Cleo was nominated for a Pushcart Prize. And to be even more legit, this brother has a Master's of Fine Arts in Creative Writing from City College of New York. So, without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Joe Okonkwo. Talk at me. How the hell are ya?
I'm well. My book just dropped a week before last. I'm having fun with promoting it and doing lots of events, and good to be here this afternoon.
Well, I'm really glad to have you here on Wyatt. Let me just start out because I don't like to mispronounce last names or first names or middle names. So pronounce your last name for me, please.
It's Okonkwo. All long O's.
Got you. Thank you for that. Okay, look, man. I just love Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck. Let's see. Some of the adjectives that I assign to your prose are as follows: engrossing, uber-descriptive, unabashed and in your face. Let me finish. Sublime, really sublime. And man, the reader is like a fly on the wall, observing and feeling a part of what's transpiring. And you take us on this emotional roller coaster where we sometimes don't know where the hell you're going to let us get off to make an exit. Kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of fun to write, and yeah, I like putting readers on an emotional roller coaster, not knowing what's going to happen. I mean, who wants formula? I like stories where you end up somewhere totally opposite of where you started and opposite of where you thought things were going to end. So, yeah.
Well, let me tell you, Joe, that we definitely do. I mean, it's like You think you're going to go one place, but you take us somewhere else. I love that because as an author myself, I love giving the reader complex characters, the elements of surprise. I like taking them on this journey that, it might not turn out the way they think. And another great thing is, as we know, the title can be a book selling point. Your title, Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck, makes one go more than just, So, what does your title connote and what's the meaning behind it?
Well, it's a very intimate title. When you think about kissing somebody's scars, that's an extremely intimate thing to do, possibly a very sexual thing to do. And so, that's the title story, Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck, and it refers to one of the other stories. There are 4 stories in the collection that are linked. There are 9 stories altogether, 4 that are linked. And in one of the stories, The Girls' Table, you see scars. You see where that title came from. And then in the title story, that character from that story where he gets scars, he appears again, an older version of him, and then you make the connection with what the title is. So it's an intimate title. It's about someone accepting another person's flaws, I think.
Mm-hmm. Got it. That makes sense. Now, my listeners, Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck is getting rave reviews, for example. And I love reviews, particularly if they're good. If they're bad, I don't want them.
Right.
But these are very, very good. Okay, you got the media outlet Out in Print Queer Book Reviews state, and I quote, "Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck is a high-powered collection of well-told stories full of the kind of engaging characters we've come to expect from Mr. Okonkwo." I got your last name right, didn't I?
Almost.
Oh, cool. Okay, let me continue. And then you have Goodreads.com, and I quote, "Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck is a sizzling story collection that introduces readers to complicated characters, male and female, who find themselves at the crossroads of Black life in America, illustrating the challenges they face and the price they pay to live authentic lives." And Goodreads goes on to say, "The eclectic stories in this collection are bound by the threads of desire in its many forms. Above all, the desire for love and a place of safety in a world where being Black and gay can thwart the fulfillment of that longing. The characters are complex, driven, difficult, and even at times unsympathetic, but always compelling. In other words, fully rounded human beings living complicated lives," end quote. Heady, gratifying stuff. So, are these reviewers on the money? Are they getting it right?
Yeah, especially when it talks about fully rounded, complicated characters. I mean, sometimes I'm criticized for writing characters that are unlikable. I can think of times in workshops or when I give my work to someone to read for input before I do a revision, and they've taken exception to characters that were not doing, quote unquote, the right thing. But the main characters in our lives, in our real lives, don't always do the right thing or say the right thing or treat us the right way.
True.
So and literature should reflect what happens in real human lives. So, but I never set out to make my characters complicated or unlikable. They just kind of naturally end up that way.
So I take it you relish writing unlikable protagonists.
I relish writing fully rounded characters, and
good answer.
And people are flawed. Even good people are flawed. There's no such thing as a person who's all good or all bad for that matter. So when I write characters, I try to capture the black, the white, and all the different shades of gray that exist in between.
I like that. Okay. Now, we're going to do a deep dive into Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck a little later. But for now, my friend, are you ready to traipse down memory lane? Just travel through the corridors of time.
Sure.
Let's do it. Okay. Where were you born and raised?
That's actually kind of a complicated question. I was born in Syracuse, New York. And then after that, we moved to New Jersey, and then to Flint, Michigan, and then to Lagos, Nigeria, and then Vicksburg, Mississippi, and then Houston, Texas. So I've been all over the place. So by the time I was 11, I think I had lived in probably close to 20 different residences, houses, apartments, wherever, in different parts of the country and the world. So it's whenever someone tells me that they still live in or that their parents still live in the house they grew up in, I can't relate to that, because there's no such thing as the one house that I grew up in.
No, were the moves due to your mom or your dad being military, or
no? It's just kind of the way things turned out. And my father's Nigerian, so that's why we moved to Lagos, Nigeria.
Got it. Great. Okay. I always like to ask my special guest the following, because it gives our listeners sort of a window into them as an adult. So here it is. What was Joe like as a boy, a little nipper? What three characteristics or qualities best described you?
Oh, wow. Probably introverted, creative, and quiet.
Well, the quiet ones are the ones that you need to watch.
That's what they say.
The quiet ones are the ones that you got to watch out for. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, Joe, let's jet forward. You earned a Master's of Fine Arts, right? In creative writing. Tell us all about that.
I went to a city college here in New York City. When I was 40, I went to Mexico City to celebrate my 40th birthday.
Cool.
And I spent the actual birthday in my hotel room, depressed, because I felt like I was 40 years old and hadn't actually accomplished much or anything. And I had always been a writer, always written, but it was shortly after that birthday that I decided to really take writing seriously. So later that year, I applied for the MFA program at City College, and I got in, and I decided that I was going to publish my novel, and I did that, and it's all, I guess, because of that episode, that birthday episode in Mexico City, where I realized, okay, if I want to accomplish something, I'm going to have to get off my butt and put the work in. Things don't just fall into place. You gotta put some work into it. So once I decided to do that, to truly take it seriously, then things took off.
And you won all of these goddamn awards.
Only one award. Only one. I was nominated for a few others, but only actually got one so far.
Well, that's good too. Nomination is always good.
Yep.
Okay, this is a perfect segue, because I was going to ask you, what was the motivating force that propelled you to be an author? I mean, for me, part of it was that burning desire for the world to hear my unique voice and point of view, which I believe needs to be heard, and also my fervent need to tell those stories that echo the lives of Black and ethnic, gay, same-gender loving men. So besides that hotel room experience, what was that motivating force or factor for you?
Well, I guess, I started writing little stories when I was a kid. It's just something it's always something I've done. It's just something that I can't imagine not writing. But also as you said, wanting to tell the story, have a voice, and I'm just a very creative person. I'm a pretty political person. I think my writing, I think you see some of that in my writing too. Hopefully not too didactic, but so a need to have a voice. I mean, Toni Morrison said that she wrote her first book because she wanted to read it, and she said that if there's a story that you want to tell that hasn't been told, then you must tell it.
Right.
And I think that's really the motivating factor.
Absolutely, Joe. Absolutely. Okay, it's high time to jump into Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck. I just love the title. You know why? Because it's got the two C's. Joe, do you know what the two C's are?
The two C's. No.
Right.
What are the two C's?
I will tell you. The two C's are catchy and consequential.
Okay.
Yes, because like I said before, a title can be a selling point. I mean, it makes people say, I might want to check this out. So yeah, the two C's, catchy, consequential. Would you share with our listeners the synopsis exactly in detail what your new collection is all about?
Oh, well, I mean, there's stories about black and white relationships. I think most of the stories have at least some kind of gay element to them. Issues like body image, which is a big deal in the gay world.
Yep.
That plays a part. There's stories about resistance to change, resistance to technology, resistance to a relationship evolving. All things have to evolve, and there's a character in one of the stories who just really doesn't want to accept the direction that her relationship with her husband is evolving. Also, black on black racism is an issue, especially in the title story. Loneliness. There's a story about a guy who he's home one day because he's depressed because a guy he liked dumped him. He stays home smoking pot, and he hears a cat out in the hallway, and he brings the cat in and falls in love with the cat. And the story is about loneliness, and which I think is also a big issue in the gay world, because it's such a we live in such a social world. At least we did pre-pandemic. I think that's changed a little bit now, but and the gay world is a very, very social place. And if you're an introvert, if you're a quiet person, or if you're different in any way, you find yourself sometimes living on the outskirts of that world, and that can be lonely. So another topic or theme is the Harlem Renaissance, which my first novel, Jazz Moon, covered. So there's a story about that in this collection. So it really runs the gamut. I hope I've written an eclectic collection with a lot of different themes and styles and structures. So I'll leave that up to the readers to decide.
Well, Joe, I believe you accomplished that because it's something for everyone. And one of the stories in the collection is titled, "You Can't Do That," to Gladys Bentley. I really, really love that one because the ending, I'm not going to give the ending away, but it shocked the hell out of me. I mean, whoa.
It shocked me too. I didn't know the story was going to end that way. It just kind of went there. And that's when you know you're in the moment or in the zone with your writing, with a story, when the story kind of takes on a life of its own and goes where it wants to go, and you just let it. That's what I did with that story.
Well, my brother, you did it well. I would like for you to do a reading from that, but before you do, would you please share with us who Gladys Bentley was and her impact? Because some of us might not know.
Gladys Bentley was a blues singer and pianist and nightclub performer. She also dressed as a man, in both her public life on stage and in her private life. She was openly lesbian, which was not you didn't see a lot of that in the 1920s.
True.
She worked in Harlem clubs. She also eventually went to California and performed in lesbian bars. She made a few blues records, and that's when I I'm not sure actually where I first heard about her, but I heard about her when I was writing my first novel, Jazz Moon, and I was so taken with her voice. I found some of her records on YouTube, and her voice is so unique that I knew I had to include her somehow in Jazz Moon, and so she makes a cameo appearance there. And I've continued to be fascinated with her. She was bawdy, very bawdy.
Yes, she was.
She was known for taking lyrics from contemporary songs of the time and changing the lyrics to make them naughty. And the clubs that she sang in often got raided by the police and closed down for periods of time for obscenity because of her naughty, raunchy lyrics. And she didn't care. That was, to her, I think that was probably a selling point. So, and she also claimed to have gotten married to a white woman in an Atlantic City wedding ceremony. That has not been verified, but it was in the gossip columns at the time in the 20s and 30s. So this excerpt I'm going to read takes place in the nightclub that she's most famous for performing in, called the Clam House. I'm going to read a little bit from the beginning.
All right, you have the floor.
Gladys's fingers hopscotched across the piano keys, smashing out notes dunked in blues and dripping rhythm. It was her first song and her first set of the night. Her eyes hadn't yet adjusted to the dark club, the stage light's blinding glare. She couldn't see a thing outside the stage, but her explosive smile blazed as she winked and waved and nodded at folks in the crowd like she could see every face. They were too drunk to know any better. 8 years into this craze called Prohibition, and folks still acted like Saturday night was a bountiful Christmas with the ever-flowing, overflowing gift of bootleg liquor. Especially at clubs like the Clam House, where Gladys Bentley reigned, enthroned at the piano, moaning raunchy, sophisticated, bluesy jazz and jazzy blues from 10 p.m. till dawn. Her clothes were as sophisticated as her music. No gowns or feathers or horsehair wigs for her. No, sir. Gladys manned it up, all 250 pounds of her, in sparkling white tucks and tails, white shoes, and white shirt and bow tie, all of it crowned with a tall, cock-angled white top hat. Elegant white, dressing elegant brown. She was dapper, dashing, debonair. At heart, Gladys Alberta Bentley was a gentleman. Her backup band pumped and bumped, ornamenting Gladys's piano, lifting it till the melody soared. Gladys moaned out some lyrics. My brown bowl's full of berries, they're ripe and juicy sweet. My brown bowl's full of berries, they're ripe and juicy sweet. I stick my fingers in my berries, the juice knocks me off my feet. Someone licked my juicy berries, Lord child, I had a fit. Someone licked my juicy berries, Lord child, I had a fit. When they said, I'll stop it, Gladys, I said, please, oh please, don't quit. Her eyes had adjusted now. The Clam House was packed, a cacophony of color. Whites up from downtown and Negroes down from Strivers Row and Sugar Hill. Men in suits and tuxes, and chicks in flapper dresses with long strands of fringe drizzling off every inch. Negroes and whites mixed it up, drinking and breaking bread at the same tables. A Negro man fed broiled shrimp to a white woman, forking it into her buoyant mouth like feeding a child. A giddy group of Negroes and whites made toast upon toast with flutes of champagne like it was New Year's Eve. White-jacketed, black bow-tied waiters cavorted through the narrow spaces between tables, noses high in the air, backside swinging, one hand carrying a tray, the other perched on a haughty hip. A pair of white queer men on the east side of the room caressed each other's hands. On the west side, a colored pair locked lips. A mixed pair frolicked at a table in the middle, white guy on colored guy's lap, colored guy's fingers sunk in his boyfriend's mouth. Mannish women, bull daggers, white and colored, cut loose in suits and ties, their hair straightened, short-cropped, slicked back, arms tossed around the backs of their chairs, legs spread as wide open as an invitation. Negro drag queens and white drag queens held court in royal, breathtaking regalia, made up like movie stars, styled wigs glistening, and those girls' gowns were more chic than anything on Fifth Avenue. The queen's curvaceous legs were crossed at the knee and swinging to the pulse of Gladys's piano. The Clam House, a rollicking black-white island oasis set back from a brutal mainland. It was protected, oh so thinly, by the inhabitants' madness for sex, their craving to cross boundaries, and their determination to desecrate taboos, and all of it galvanized by the inhibition-lowering magic of bootleg liquor. The place was packed all right. Every eye was glued to Miss Gladys Bentley. Of course. How could they not be glued to a 250-pound colored bulldagger smashing out blues? The spotlight made her smolder like a beacon in her all-white getup as she dished out bawdy blues. Got a deep hole in my floor. Come on, baby, don't you tease. Got a deep hole in my floor. Come on, baby, don't you tease. My hole is wet and muddy. Come on, baby, fill it, please. It was one of her naughtier songs, and that was saying something. The kind of Gladys Bentley tune that had got the Clam House raided in the past and would again. Gladys scanned the crowd. A couple of Negro stuff shirts walked out, snooty faces painted with disgust. Good, Gladys thought, means I'd done my job. And she'd done her job when the queers hurled back their heads so far with laughter their chairs nearly tipped over. And when the drag queens nodded their royal heads, Gladys sat up a little straighter on that piano bench, proud to have earned their sage approval. Most of the white folks reacted like white folks usually did, squealing like brats electrified by a delightful terror in a Halloween-haunted house. It's why they flocked to the Clam House, why they braved their way to Harlem, to be scandalized by the antics of wild and exotic Negroes. It was Gladys's duty to give them what they came for. It was her pleasure to provoke, offend, shake things up, antagonize the stuffed shirts, challenge the highbrows who thought they'd seen and heard it all, disrespectfully let them know that there was no such thing. If you're good to me, baby, you can slide down my muddy hole. If you're good to me, baby, you can slide down my muddy hole. So stop clowning round, baby. Come send Gladys to her soul. She pummeled the piano in an extended interlude, a transformation from bawdy blues to rip-roaring swing, from tongue-in-cheek irreverence to jazz combustion. Gladys closed her eyes, whirled in the music, got lost in it.
Whoa. First of all, Joe, thank you for that. Now, I took notes. I had to take notes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. No, 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 no. And the reason why I did it is because when an author reads the work of another author that is just so compelling, you take notes. So let me first of all say that, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but let me say that you are Mr. Melodious Voice. You've got a radio announcer voice.
Oh, thank you.
Another thing is that you are a performer. I mean, you lost yourself in your reading. I never call, as far as I'm concerned, a reading is really a performance. So you really lost yourself in the performance. You paint this wonderful portrait, not a picture, but a portrait of these full-bodied colors. It's electric. It's rhythmic. It's rhythmic it's rhythmic prose with so many different beats to it. I mean, it's great when you read that story, but it has more of an effect on you when you read it. So kudos. I mean, that's incredible.
Oh, thank you. I used to be an actor in a previous life, and I'll always be a performer at heart. And I don't go to a lot of author readings, partly because the people don't read very well.
True.
and the worst thing is going to a reading and hearing the author read in a monotone, and I do try to act a little bit, and but I always wonder if I try. We're finding that balance between acting and so I want the reader to hear the words, not necessarily hear my acting. So I sometimes wonder if I go too far, but I do also think it's important to try to bring the story to life. And if you're going to read it, then read it.
Well, I don't think you go too far because you lose yourself in it. You become part of the story, and that makes the story that much more compelling. So no, thank you again for that. That's excellent.
Thank you.
Really. I want to move on to, I call it something that I find interesting. For example, Joe, when I do book tours and like conduct workshops and seminars, I have at least one person that will say to me, Wyatt, I have a book in me, but I just don't know how and what to do to get started. I don't know if I can really commit to doing it. Oh, woe is me. Just what should I do? Just what should I do? Just what should I do? So it's dispense some, I suppose, words of wisdom to put a fire under the asses of these folks to get them started.
Well, the great sci-fi writer Ursula K. Le Guin said, in terms of learning to write, she said, you sit down and you do it, and you do it, and you do it until you have learned to do it. And it really is as simple as that. You have to sit down and do it. It doesn't just, books don't write themselves. You have to decide that you want to do it, and you've got to take the steps necessary. For me, getting into a graduate program was the way to go. That's not necessarily the way to go for everyone, but that was the way for me. Because I'm not by nature necessarily the most disciplined person in the world. So having a program, having deadlines, having grades and a transcript at stake, and knowing that I was going thousands of dollars into debt, that was a motivator to light a fire under me. That might not be the way for everyone else, though, because there are lots of ways to become a writer. But the first step is to commit to doing it, and then sit down and start doing it.
Mm-hmm. My listeners, listen to Joe. If you want to write this book, you feel like you've got a book in you, you just have to decide to do it. put aside some time to do it. That might even mean missing your beloved football game. Seriously, you've got to make that the whole writing process a priority. Okay, let's talk about the importance of truth in writing. An author's story, what he or she writes must be authentic. You've got to know what you're talking about, which requires necessary research. What say you?
You have to either know what you're talking about or be able to really act as if you do. Yeah, research, absolutely, in terms of, especially for historical novels. I'm writing a novel now, a full-length story about Gladys Bentley, the story,
Wow.
the character I just read. In fact, that story I just read was kind of I treated it like a dry run for preparing to write the novel. So anything historical, you definitely have to have a lot of you want research, because you want it to be authentic. You want to put the reader in that setting and have them believe that they really are in 1920s Harlem or 16th century France or wherever. And so doing the research, knowing what was going on historically at the time, knowing what kinds of foods they ate, what kinds of things they did for entertainment, knowing the kinds of cars they drove or clothes they wore, the kinds of music they listened to, and incorporate those different elements into the narrative, and to really really recreate that world for the reader. So yeah, research is extremely important. Research and also don't forget imagination. I mean, I've read historical novels that are all research, but not a whole lot of creativity. So you have to find a good balance between the two of them.
Got it. Okay, now to that all crucial PMP, and I'm not talking about prep. I'm not talking about a pimp. I'm talking about the promotion marketing piece. Before you put pen to paper, my aspiring authors, so to speak, it's absolutely critical that you begin to scheme and plot your promotion marketing campaign. So, Joe, do you agree with me? What?
I don't think about promotion before I start writing. I don't think about promotion really until the contract is signed, and then I start thinking about how to promote the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was. Well, you know what? I'm a promotions guy, so before I even put pen to paper, I'm thinking, okay, where am I going to go with this book? Social media, print, whatever. But okay, that's cool. Okay, let's swing back to you. What are the challenges of writing short fiction as opposed to novels?
Oh, the challenge sometimes can be that, Octavia Butler, the excuse me, great short story or great science fiction novelist, she said she hated writing short stories because she was really a novelist at heart, and so most of her short stories were really just novels that were trying to be stories, trying to be short stories. But she said every now and again she hit pay dirt and produced a good short story. So I think that the challenge, creating a world in only a few pages. I mean, with a novel, you've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 600, really an unlimited amount of space to create that world and create those characters and set them loose in that world. But with a short story, you have a lot less space. So I think of a novel as an entire cake with layers and frosting and sprinkles, and a short story is just a slice of that cake. But don't be fooled. Just because you're creating a slice doesn't mean it's easy.
Got it. Oh yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. So, Joe, what's on tap for you for the rest of 2021? What's going on?
Continuing to work on my novel about Gladys. Also working on some short fiction, doing some rewrites on a story now that I've started writing, I guess, last year, about a year and a half ago, and it's gone through, I think I'm on revision number 7 now, and it's probably going to go through at least another couple of drafts before it's truly ready. Promoting Kiss the Scars on the Back of My Neck. In fact, I'll be in Provincetown, Massachusetts next weekend at a store called East End Books, doing a little reading there to support the book.
Great.
That's really it. I have a 9-to-5 job. That's a very intense, hectic job.
Oh, wow.
It's a good thing I like it, because if I didn't, I don't know that I could survive it.
Ooh.
So, but and I'm all about author quotes. Willa Cather said that the most important thing in her life was writing books and living the kind of life that made it possible to write them. So,
yes,
the job I have makes it possible for me to write them. So, even though it gets a little consuming at times, it's worth it.
Words of wisdom, y'all. Remember that. Okay. How do us grown folk contact and connect with you? Please give us all of your social media, website, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Website is joeokonkwo.com. Pretty easy. And then on Twitter, my Twitter handle is at Joe O Jazz Moon. And I post really nice content. A lot of people post nonsense on social media, but I curate what I post. So I try to make sure it's something of value. So I think people would enjoy my Twitter. So at Joe O Jazz Moon on Twitter.
Wonderful. Well, Mr. Joe O, thanks for visiting Wyatt, and you got to come back, my man.
I'd love to. This was fun. Thank you.
Well, listen, I thank you. So there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page on WyattEvans.com. The official hashtag is Wyatt on Air. And if you want to be a guest on Wyatt, or you just have comments, email me at wyattonair@gmail.com. And you can follow me, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, your host, on Facebook.com/Wyatt O'Brien Evans, on Twitter at Mr. Woe, MisterWoe, on Instagram at Mr. Wyatt O, MrWyatto. And be sure to check out my Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels, the latest being Frenzy. I said Frenzy. And its predecessor, Rage. All at WyattEvans.com, y'all. So until next time, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. Woof.